everyone! So this month I read a lot of books, so I decided I wanted to do a June wrap-up so I could just talk about them all in one place. Before I start off, I just want to say that I'm bad at reading new releases, so none of these books are like new. I mean, they're not that old, but they're not like the books that just came out in 2017. And I also like to go into books not knowing a lot about them, and I think that that's a good way to go into them. A lot of times I generally know a few things about the plot and the location, so I'm going to have a kind of a screen that pops up saying a few general things about each book. You'll see. When June began, I decided I wanted a series, and I had bought The Lost Hero around Christmas time, and I decided that since I had a big chunk of time, I just wanted to read the entire series. So I read the Heroes of Olympus series first. Now, I enjoyed these books. I thought that they were good middle grade reads. My favorite one is The House of Hades because I think it had the best character growth and the best plot. It was really fun and interesting. I read it in like 2 days and it's quite long for that. So there, I read these ones. Now, after reading these 5 middle grade books, I decided I wanted to pick up an adult book. So I decided to read Neil Gaiman's Never Wear. And this is the second book I've read by Neil Gaiman, but it's the first adult book of his that I read. And I really like the plot. It was interesting. It's about a world where there's London and then there's an under London, and a character falls through the cracks, so he goes from above ground London, which is the London that we all know, and he ends up in this under London, and there's all this stuff that goes on. And the world was really interesting. I like the concept of this under London. I liked the plot, it was interesting, but I just did not like the characters, and for that reason I just gave it 3 stars because honestly when I read a book I love to love the characters, so since I didn't really care about any of the characters, it just wasn't my favorite. So if you're new to Neil Gaiman, I probably wouldn't recommend this book to start of his because I've heard the other ones are better. Now, after reading that book, I missed the Greek gods world that Rick Riordan created, so I decided to read Trials of Apollo. And I haven't read the second book, and I don't want to go too much into what it's about because it's kind of something where you probably want to read the other 2 series before, but this one is basically about the god Apollo, and he gets cast down to Earth as a human because that's his punishment. So it's really interesting. It was very fun to read from Apollo's perspective, and I enjoyed this one. It's great. Now, after reading those books, I was on vacation, so I decided to buy books on my Kindle, as I do whenever I'm on a trip, because it's just easier. I mean, I love packing lightweight, I have a travel backpack, so this is just the way all the books fit the best. The first book that I read off of my Kindle was Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. This book is basically her take on what a Chosen One story would be. People have said it's like her version of Harry Potter, which I guess it kind of is, but I would compare it more to just a general Chosen One thing. And I did think there were some Twilight-y themes thrown in there, but I'm not totally sure because I read those books in 5th grade. I don't remember them. I originally didn't want to read this book because I had read Fangirl and I did not care about Simon and Baz at all. I actually skimmed through those parts. But then reading this book, I did like the characters, so if you're worried about reading it for that reason, it's fine, you get to like the characters. But once again, it was a multi-perspective story, and I did not like any of the perspectives except for Simon and Baz. The other ones just blah. And after reading Carry On, I decided I wanted to read another Rainbow Rowell book, and I only had one left that I hadn't read, which was Landline. So I read that, and it's actually my least favorite Rainbow Rowell book. It was interesting though, because the concept is that there's this phone, and this girl is having problems with her marriage. So when she tries to call her husband, it actually rings back to when he was a teenager, and not a teenager, back when they were in college. So she talks to the college version of him when she's the adult version. And that concept was interesting, But once again, I did not like the husband character. His name was Neil, and I did not like him. I did not get why she liked him, so that part was a little frustrating to me, and it just wasn't quite as interesting and as her other books. And the final book I decided to read on my Kindle is More Happy Than Not by Adam Silvera. And that book is also one that I would suggest you don't know too much about going into. I'm sure people have already read it though, since it's been out for a couple of years, whatever. Basically, there's this institution that can remove memories, and your main character, Aaron, is having a lot of hardships in his life, and he feels like it's getting worse. Oh, I'll just leave it at that. It definitely took me by surprise. I thought I knew exactly where it was going, but I turned out to be completely wrong, not once but twice in the book, so that was interesting to see that happen. Alright, and those are all of the books that I read in June. Yay! Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for everyone who commented on my last video. That really means a lot to me. It's great to talk to some of you guys, and I'm excited to talk more about books. I thought about it, and I decided that I wanted to try to upload videos on Tuesday. Now I know it's not Tuesday when I'm uploading because I was just really wanting to talk about the books I read in June, since it's increasingly more July-ish as we go on. These are the books I read in June. Thanks for watching, and if you have any comments, then put it in the comment box. That sounds really redundant, whatever. I don't care. So thank you, bye!